Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating parts of American coin history, quarters from the 1960s through the 1980s. Now at first glance these coins may look completely ordinary, the kind of thing you'd find in your pocket or an old jar of change. But here's the exciting part. A few of these seemingly normal quarters can actually be worth thousands of dollars if you happen to have the right one. We'll talk about what makes them special, how to spot rare errors, and why some coins are selling for incredible amounts. So, grab your change jar and let's see if you might be sitting on a hidden treasure. Let's start with one of the most famous quarters of all time, the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter. This coin was released to celebrate 200 years of American independence, a milestone in U.S. history. What makes it stand out right away is the double date on the front, 1776 to 1976. Instead of a single year, this one marks the nation's bicentennial celebration. Flip it over and you'll see a unique design, a colonial drummer boy holding a drum, created by artist Jack L.H.R. It's a patriotic image that really sets this coin apart from the regular Washington quarter design. Now here's something interesting. If your bicentennial quarter has no mint mark, that means it was made in Philadelphia. Back in those days, coins from the Philadelphia Mint didn't carry a mint mark at all. So if you look under the date and see nothing there, that's perfectly normal. It's not a rare variety by itself. But here's where things get a little tricky. The U.S. Mint produced an enormous number of these, more than 800 million bicentennial quarters. Because of that, most of them aren't rare at all. You can still find them in circulation at flea markets, or tucked away in old coin collections. In average circulated condition, they're usually worth just their face value, 25 cents. Even in nice shape, maybe with some original shine left, they might bring $1 or $2 from a collector. Now, if you happen to have one in pristine, uncirculated condition, the kind that's never been used, perfectly struck and stored carefully, it could be worth around $5, $10, or maybe even $20. But that's still a long way from the $4,000 or $5,000 price tags you sometimes see floating around the internet. So where do those big numbers come from? Well, those jaw-dropping prices usually belong to coins with rare mint errors, mistakes made during the minting process that slipped through quality control. These are the coins that collectors dream about. Some examples include coins struck on the wrong type of metal planchet, coins that were double struck, meaning they were hit twice by the press, or even ones that have off-center designs or missing details. When one of these error coins also happens to be in perfect condition, that's when you start seeing four-figure auction prices. For instance, one bicentennial quarter with a dramatic minting error and flawless condition once sold for over $3,000. Another example, a double-struck version in a high mint state grade, brought in more than $4,000 at auction. But let's be clear, those are the exceptions, not the rule. Most of the bicentennial quarters you'll come across are completely normal and worth about a quarter. Some people online list them for crazy prices like $5,000 or even $10,000, but that doesn't mean they're actually selling for that much. Many of those listings just sit there, unsold, because the sellers are hoping someone will overpay. If you want to know the real value of your coin, don't go by online listings. Instead, look at actual auction results. Those show what people are truly willing to pay. And here's an important tip. If you think you have something special, maybe your coin looks odd, has doubling, or feels different, don't just assume it's valuable. You'll want to have it looked at by a professional grading service. Two of the most trusted names in the hobby are PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. They'll carefully examine your coin, confirm if any errors are real, and assign it an official grade. Once your coin is certified, collectors will take it much more seriously, and that's when you might truly discover if you've got a hidden gem. So what's the bottom line? Most 1776 to 1976 quarters are fun keepsakes that celebrate America's 200th birthday, but not exactly rare. However, a few of them, especially those with minting errors or in flawless condition, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. If you enjoy collecting, these are great coins to start with. They're easy to find, full of history, and every once in a while, someone gets lucky and finds a true rarity hiding in plain sight. So next time you're sorting through your pocket change, pay close attention to those old bicentennial quarters. You never know. One might just be a little piece of American history worth far more than 25 cents. Coin collecting is full of surprises, and that's what makes it such an exciting hobby. Whether you're in it for the fun, the history, or the chance of finding a valuable treasure, every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story is worth a fortune. Next up, let's talk about the 1967 no mint mark Washington quarter, a coin that often gets people's attention because of that missing mint mark. Now, right away, let's clear up the biggest misunderstanding. If you've got a 1967 quarter and you notice there's no little letter under the date, don't panic, and don't get too excited just yet either. That's completely normal. During the mid-1960s, the US Mint actually stopped using mint marks altogether for a few years. They did this to discourage people from hoarding coins during a national coin shortage. So, every single 1967 quarter was made without a mint mark, no matter where it came from. In other words, no mint mark doesn't mean rare. It simply means your coin is part of the normal production. Now let's talk about just how many were made. In 1967 alone, the US Mint struck more than 1.5 billion of these quarters. Yes, that's billion with a B. With numbers that huge, you can imagine there are still plenty of them floating around today, sitting in old jars, piggy banks, drawers, and even still showing up in pocket change. Because they're so common, most 1967 quarters are worth exactly what it says on the front, 25 cents. Even if your coin looks a little shiny or seems to have been well cared for, it usually won't sell for more than $1. Now, there is one situation where the value can start to climb. If your 1967 quarter looks absolutely flawless, no scratches, no wear, full mint luster, and it's been officially graded as uncirculated, that's where things get more interesting. When a grading service like PCGS or NGC certifies a coin and gives it a very high grade, something like MS66, MS67, or even MS68, the value can jump dramatically. A normal uncirculated example might sell for $10 or $20, while one in near-perfect condition could bring a few $100s. But what about those headlines or online posts claiming a 1967 quarter sold for $5,500? Well, that's true, but only in extremely rare cases. For a coin to be worth that kind of money, it has to check two major boxes. First, it must be an exceptionally high grade like Mint State 68 or better, almost perfect under magnification. And second, it usually has to have a rare mint error. Mint errors are mistakes that happen during the production process, and they can make a coin truly one of a kind. Examples include coins struck on the wrong type of metal, called a wrong planchet error, coins struck off-center, or coins that show doubling in the design. These kinds of mistakes don't happen often, and that's why they're so valuable to collectors. In fact, one verified 1967 Washington quarter graded MS68 by PCGS, nearly flawless and with sharp detail, sold at auction for over $5,000. But remember, that was a rare exception, not the rule. Most of the 1967 quarters out there have seen everyday use. They've been in pockets, jars, or cash drawers for decades. Those are worth just face value. Every so often you'll see people online trying to sell regular 1967 quarters for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But most of those listings are just wishful thinking. They're not graded, not verified, and most of them never actually sell. That's why serious collectors and experts always rely on real auction records instead of online listings. Auction results show what buyers are actually willing to pay, not what someone hopes to get. So if you think your 1967 quarter might be special, maybe you see something unusual on it or it looks like it was struck differently, the best step is to have it professionally graded. When a grading company like PCGS or NGC certifies your coin, you'll know exactly what you have. If it turns out to have a rare error or a top-tier grade, then you really might have something valuable. But without that certification, it's just another common quarter, a nice collectible but not a jackpot. So, to sum it up, most 1967 quarters are extremely common and worth 25 cents. A few in pristine mint state condition might bring tens or even hundreds of dollars. And a rare, near-perfect example, especially with a genuine mint error, can sell for thousands at a real auction. That's what makes this hobby so much fun. You never really know what's sitting in your pocket until you take a closer look. Now let's move on to another interesting coin, the 1973 no mint mark Washington quarter. At first glance, this coin might not look any different from the change in your wallet. But it does have an interesting story behind it. The reason it has no mint mark is simple. It was made at the Philadelphia Mint. During 1973, Philadelphia did not include a mint mark on its coins, so if you see no letter under the date, that's completely normal. And here's the thing, the US Mint produced millions and millions of these quarters that year. Because so many were made, the 1973 quarter is actually one of the most common coins from that era. You can still find them in pocket change, coin jars, or tucked away in old collections. For that reason, most 1973 quarters don't carry much extra value. In average condition, the kind that's been used for years, it's worth exactly what it says, 25 cents. Even one that looks fairly nice with a bit of shine left, usually only sells for a little over face value, maybe 30 or 40 cents or up to $1 at most. Now, where things start to get a bit more exciting is with coins that are in uncirculated condition. That means the coin was never used in everyday transactions. No scratches, no wear, just that bright original luster like it came straight from the mint. An uncirculated 1973 quarter might bring anywhere from $1 to $5, and in some cases, if it's in near-perfect shape, it could go for $10 or a bit more. But those are still modest values. So where do those rumors come from? The ones that say a 1973 quarter could be worth $1,000 or more. Well, those big dollar examples only happen when the coin has something truly special about it, usually a rare minting error. These errors happen during the production process, and when they do, they create coins that are one of a kind. One of the most sought-after errors collectors look for is called a doubled die. That happens when the coin's design was stamped twice, but slightly out of alignment. If you look closely at the date, lettering, or design and see what looks like a shadow or doubling effect, that could be a double die error. Another kind of error might be a weak or missing design. Maybe part of the image didn't strike fully, or the coin was made on the wrong type of metal planchet. These unusual mistakes are the ones that can push a coin's value into the hundreds or even thousands. But to reach those kinds of numbers, a coin also needs to be in outstanding condition. Nearly perfect, what collectors call mint state 68 or higher. Professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, are the only reliable way to confirm this. They'll examine the coin under magnification, check for real errors, and give it an official grade from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, perfect coin. A 1973 quarter with a genuine error and a high mint state grade could absolutely sell for hundreds or even a few $1,000s at a real auction. But keep in mind, those are very rare exceptions. Most of the time, people who claim their 1973 quarter is worth $1,000 are simply guessing or hoping. They might post it online at a high price, but those listings usually sit unsold because there's no real proof behind the claim. So if someone tells you their 1973 quarter is extremely valuable, ask a couple of questions. Has it been graded by PCGS or NGC? Does it have a documented error? If the answer is no, then it's almost certainly just a regular quarter worth face value, or maybe a few dollars if it's in mint condition. Still, these coins are wonderful for collecting, especially if you're putting together a year-by-year set of Washington quarters. They represent a great piece of American coinage history, even if they don't bring big money. But remember, sometimes the fun of coin collecting isn't just about the profit. It's about the excitement of finding something unique. And who knows, maybe one day you'll stumble upon that rare 1973 quarter with a true mint error hiding in plain sight. So always look carefully, and if you think your coin could be something special, send it to a grading service for professional confirmation. That's the only sure way to find out what it's really worth. Now let's take a closer look at the 1969 no mint mark Washington quarter. Another coin that often catches people's attention, especially when they notice there's no little letter under the date. Just like some of the other coins we've talked about, the reason it doesn't have a mint mark is simple. It was made at the Philadelphia Mint. Back in 1969, Philadelphia didn't place mint marks on its coins, so seeing a blank space under the date is completely normal. It doesn't mean the coin is rare or special by itself. That year, the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of these quarters, a huge number. Because of that, the 1969 no mint mark quarter is still very common today. You can easily find them in circulation in change jars, or tucked away in an old coin collection. If your 1969 quarter has been used in everyday life, with scratches, dull color, or signs of wear, it's probably worth only its face value, 25 cents. Even a coin that looks relatively clean without any major damage, usually sells for just a small premium, maybe 50 cents to $1 at most. But if you happen to have one that looks brand new, no scratches, full shine, and that fresh mint look, things get a little more interesting. Coins like that are called uncirculated or mint state quarters. These are coins that were never spent or handled, so they remain in their original condition. An uncirculated 1969 quarter can sell for a few dollars, sometimes even $10 to $20 depending on how perfect it is. Now, you might have heard stories online about 1969 quarters being worth $2,000 or more. And while that sounds exciting, that kind of price only happens in very rare situations, usually when a coin has a genuine mint error or a unique variety that sets it apart from the rest. One of the most valuable types of mint errors is the doubled die. This happens when the coin's design is impressed twice, but slightly off from the first strike. The result is a doubling effect on parts of the design, like the date, the lettering, or the word liberty. If you look closely and see a shadow-like doubling, that could be an error worth checking. Other errors can include coins struck on the wrong type of metal, or coins with parts of the design missing or weakly struck. These unusual mistakes are what collectors get excited about, and they're very rare. For a 1969 quarter to reach those higher values, hundreds or even thousands of dollars, it not only needs to have one of these errors, but it also must be in outstanding condition. That's where the professional grading companies come in. Services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, carefully inspect coins and assign a grade on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 meaning an absolutely perfect coin. If your 1969 quarter is verified by one of these grading companies as a high-grade error coin, then yes, it could be worth hundreds or even a couple $1,000s at auction. But here's the reality. Most 1969 quarters don't have any errors and they're not in mint state condition. Many of them have been circulating for decades, and those are worth just pocket change. Online you might see people listing regular 1969 quarters for crazy prices like $1,000 or more, but those listings almost never sell. Without grading or proof of an actual mint error, those coins are simply wishful thinking. So, if someone tells you their 1969 quarter without a mint mark is worth a fortune, ask them a simple question. Has it been graded or certified by PCGS or NGC? If the answer is no, then it's almost certainly just a regular quarter. Even if it's shiny or looks better than average, that alone doesn't make it valuable. Still, these coins are great for collecting, especially if you enjoy putting together a full set of Washington quarters from different years. They're affordable, full of history, and sometimes if you get lucky one might turn out to be a hidden gem. If you think your 1969 quarter might be special, maybe you've spotted something odd or unique, the smartest move is to have it professionally graded. That way you'll know for sure what you have and what it's truly worth. So, while most 1969 no-mint mark quarters are only worth face value, a rare few with genuine mint errors in near-perfect condition have sold for hundreds or even thousands. Just remember, always verify with a trusted grading company before believing those big online price claims. Now let's move on to the 1977 no-mint mark Washington quarter, a coin that often sparks curiosity among collectors and everyday finders alike. If you've noticed your 1977 quarter doesn't have a mint mark under the date, don't worry, that's completely normal. These were made at the Philadelphia Mint, and during that time the Philadelphia Mint didn't place a mint mark on its coins. So, the lack of a letter beneath the date doesn't make it rare, it's simply how these coins were produced. In 1977, the U.S. Mint struck hundreds of millions of these quarters. With such a massive mintage, the majority of these coins are still very easy to find today, in old collections, coin jars, or even still circulating in pocket change. Because so many were made, the 1977 no-mint mark quarter is considered common, and most examples don't carry much extra value. If your coin has seen regular use, showing scratches, dirt, or worn details, it's likely worth just 25 cents, its face value. Even if it looks fairly clean, an average 1977 quarter without any special feature usually sells for just a small premium, maybe 50 cents to $1 at most. However, if you happen to have one that looks brand new, shiny, sharp, and untouched, you might have something slightly more valuable. Coins in this condition are known as uncirculated or mint state coins. These are quarters that were never spent or handled, so they retain their original mint luster. An uncirculated 1977 no-mint mark quarter can bring a few dollars, sometimes even around $10 depending on how perfect it looks and how high it grades. Now, you might have heard claims online that some 1977 quarters are worth as much as $9,000, and while that number definitely catches attention, it's only true under very rare and specific circumstances. For a 1977 no-mint mark quarter to reach that kind of value, it must have a major mint error or an extremely unusual variety that makes it stand out from the millions of normal ones. One of the most sought-after mint errors is called a double die. This happens when part of the design, such as the date, lettering, or motto, was accidentally struck twice. When that happens, the details can appear slightly doubled or blurry. These mistakes are rare and collectible because they were caused during the original minting process. Another type of error could be a coin struck on the wrong metal planchet. For example, a quarter accidentally struck on a nickel or foreign coin blank. Other rare errors include missing designs, weak strikes, or off-center impressions. Coins like these are what collectors get truly excited about, and depending on the type of error and how clear it is, they can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. But to actually reach those higher price ranges, the coin must also be in excellent, almost perfect condition. That's where professional grading companies come in. Organizations like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, specialize in inspecting coins and giving them an official grade on a 1 to 70 scale, with 70 representing a flawless, perfect coin. If your 1977 quarter has been graded by one of these companies and identified as a high-grade coin with a rare mint error, that's when it can command serious money, possibly thousands of dollars. However, without certification or proof from a recognized grading service, it's hard to believe high-value claims. There are many listings online where people try to sell ordinary 1977 quarters for ridiculous prices, hoping someone will bite. But the reality is, most of these coins never sell for those inflated amounts. So if someone claims their 1977 no-mint mark quarter is worth thousands, the first question to ask is, has it been graded and verified by PCGS or NGC? If the answer is no, then it's almost certainly just a regular coin. Even if it looks bright and clean without an official grade or proven mint error, it's unlikely to be worth more than a few dollars. Still, these coins are fun to collect, especially if you're building a full Washington quarter set by year. They represent a piece of everyday American history and are a great addition to any collection, even if their value isn't sky high. And if you do think your 1977 quarter might have something unusual, maybe a double design, off-center strike, or other odd feature, it's definitely worth sending to a grading company for confirmation. Professional graders will carefully examine your coin and let you know if it's a true error and what its actual grade and market value are. So, while most 1977 no-mint mark quarters are common and worth just face value, the rare few with authentic mint errors and top-grade condition can indeed be worth hundreds or even thousands. Always verify, never assume, and if you suspect you've got something special, get it checked by the experts before believing any wild online price tags. Now, let's wrap up with the 1983 Washington quarter, a coin that often grabs attention from both new and experienced collectors. This particular coin was made at the Denver Mint, which is why you'll see a small letter D just under the date on the front. Back in 1983, the U.S. Mint struck billions of quarters, and a large portion of them came from Denver. Because production numbers were so high, the 1983 quarter is very common, and you can still find these coins just about anywhere, in old collections, coin rolls, or even in everyday pocket change. If your 1983 quarter has seen normal circulation, meaning it's been used, handled, and shows the usual signs of wear, it's typically only worth its face value of 25 cents. Coins with scratches, nicks, or faded details don't hold much extra value to collectors. Even if it looks fairly nice or has a bit of shine left, a regular 1983 quarter without any special features usually sells for around 50 cents to $1. Now, if you happen to have one in mint state condition, meaning it looks brand new with full luster and no signs of wear, then it could be worth more. These are known as uncirculated coins, and depending on how perfect they appear, they can sell for a few dollars, often around $1 to $5, sometimes slightly higher if the quality is exceptional. But even then, most collectors won't pay much more than that for a standard 1983 quarter, unless it has something very special about it. You might have seen claims online saying a 1983 quarter could be worth up to $1,300, and while that sounds exciting, that kind of value only applies to coins with a major mint error or a rare variety that sets it apart from normal ones. So what kind of errors could make a 1983 quarter worth serious money? One example is a double die error where the details of the coin, like the date or lettering, appear doubled because of a mistake during the minting process. Another possibility is a striking error, where the coin might have been struck off-center, missing part of its design, or even struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely. Errors like these are extremely rare, and only a small number of 1983 quarters with these mistakes have ever been found. To reach a high value, like hundreds or even over $1,000, the coin also has to be in outstanding condition. That means it would need to be graded by a professional coin grading company such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. These grading companies carefully inspect coins and assign them a grade on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless coin. A 1983 quarter that's graded in very high mint state, for example, MS67 or MS68, and also has a confirmed mint error, could indeed be worth hundreds or even more in an auction. But without that official certification, it's hard to believe high price claims. Many sellers online post regular 1983 quarters for hundreds or even thousands of dollars hoping to attract attention, but in reality, most of those coins never sell for anywhere near those prices. That's why it's so important to always check whether a coin has been graded and certified by a trusted company. If someone tells you their 1983 quarter is worth $1,300, Ask for proof. Is it graded by PCGS or NGC? Does it have a documented error? If not, it's almost certainly just a regular quarter worth about face value, maybe a bit more if it's shiny or uncirculated. Still, that doesn't mean these coins aren't fun to collect. The 1983D quarter is part of the regular Washington quarter series, and it's a great coin to include in a year set or collection. Even though most of them aren't valuable, they're still a nice piece of history from the early 1980s, a time when the mint was producing coins in massive numbers. If you do find a 1983D quarter that looks unusual, maybe it has a double design, missing details, or looks like it was struck off-center, it's definitely worth getting checked. The best thing to do is send it to a professional grading company, where experts can verify if it's a genuine mint error and determine its true market value. This step gives you confidence and protects you from misinformation or exaggerated claims that are so common online. So to sum it up, while most 1983D quarters are common and worth only 25 cents, a rare few with verified mint errors or top-quality mint state grades can be worth hundreds or even over $1,000. It all depends on condition, rarity, and certification. And that wraps up our look at the 1983D quarter, and really this applies to all modern Washington quarters too. From the bicentennial quarter to the 1983D, most are only worth a little more than face value in regular condition. But the thrill of coin collecting comes from that small chance, finding the one coin that's different, the one with a minting error or pristine condition that makes it truly special. Always remember, before believing high-price claims, get your coins checked and certified by trusted grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Collecting coins isn't just about money, it's about the fun of discovery, history, and the excitement of finding something rare. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed learning about these coins, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another rare coin update or value guide. Stay curious, keep collecting, and who knows, maybe the next coin you find will be your lucky one.